I'm talking about. You've been there. One person is obsessed with getting the biggest screen possible, someone else is only looking at the price tag, and then another person chimes in, but how will that look in the living room? It's a classic family showdown. But what if I told you none of this is random? There is, in fact, a method to the madness. It's because our family is, hands down, the most powerful influence on our decisions as consumers. So let's go ahead and unpack these invisible rules that guide every single purchase, starting with the very first piece of the puzzle.
All right, Section 1, the family buying puzzle. To really get how these big decisions get made, we have to stop seeing a family as just a group of people and start seeing it as one single unit, what we call a consuming unit.
So here's the key idea. A family isn't just a bunch of individuals shopping for their own stuff. From a marketing point of view, it's one economic entity. Think about it. Everyone is dipping into the same pot of money to get what they need. And that has to cover both personal wants, like, say, a new pair of headphones for you, and shared needs, like the week's groceries or a brand new fridge. So that's the what. But what about the why? I mean, where do our personal tastes even come from? Why do you reach for one brand of ketchup over another without even thinking about it? Well, it turns out our shopping habits are basically programmed into us. And this whole learning process has a name. It's called consumer socialization. It's how we pick up all the skills and attitudes we need to function as shoppers. You know, learning what to buy, where to shop, and even how to budget. And it all starts in the family, usually through two main channels. So, on one hand, you have simple imitation. This is literally just monkey see, monkey do. You saw your parents use a certain brand of laundry soap, so now you do too. It's just learning by watching. But then, on the other hand, you've got something called operant conditioning. This is where your behavior gets shaped by praise or rewards. You know, maybe as a kid you got praised for always finishing your vegetables, which subtly taught you about healthy eating and not wasting food.
And this quote just nails how deep those roots go. This is what's called intergenerational influence. That loyalty to a certain brand can be passed down from your grandparents to your parents and then straight to you, sometimes for decades, without you ever really stopping to question why.
Okay, Section 3, the 5 family roles. So we know why we like certain things, but when it comes to actually buying something, who is doing what? This is where it gets really interesting because every family member can play a totally different role in the process. Now, the most important thing to get here is that these aren't always 5 different people. One person can wear multiple hats. Or for a really big decision like buying a new car, the roles can get spread out. A teenager might be the instigator. Hey, we need a new car. A trusted friend who knows about cars could be the influencer. Both parents might be the deciders. One parent is the purchaser who signs the papers, and then the whole family ends up as the consumers.
So even if we know all the roles, figuring out the power dynamics, that's the real key. Especially between partners, decisions are almost never a perfect 50-50 split. The power of who actually decides tends to shift, and it all depends on what's being bought.
Yeah. Research shows there are about 4 main patterns here. Some decisions, usually related to the household like groceries or furniture, tend to be led by one partner. Others, like cars or insurance, might be handled by the other. Then you have what's called syncretic decisions. That's just a fancy word for joint, for those big-ticket items that affect everyone, like planning a vacation or choosing a school. And finally, you've got autonomic decisions, where one person just makes the call on their own for smaller, personal things. But here's the thing. These roles and power dynamics, they aren't set in stone. Not at all. They are constantly changing, and they're based on one of the most powerful predictors we have, where the family is in its own life journey.
This is the family life cycle, and it perfectly shows how priorities just completely shift over time. In the bachelor stage, your money often goes towards entertainment, travel, going out. Then, as newly married couples start building a home, the focus shifts to furniture, appliances, durable goods. Then, boom, you hit the full nest stage, where spending is completely driven by the kids' needs, everything from diapers to college funds. Once the kids leave, you enter the empty nest, which frees up money again for luxuries, travel, and hobbies. And finally, in later stages, priorities naturally pivot toward health and essential services.
And that right there is the key takeaway.
Knowing a family is in the full nest stage tells you so much more about their spending habits than just knowing the parents' ages. It tells you what they need, what they value most right now, and exactly where their money is going. It's incredibly predictive.
So we've looked at the roles people play, the power dynamics, the life cycle. Why is getting a handle on this hidden system so important? Well, because it reveals the answers to some really practical and very important questions. Once you understand this whole framework, you start to see things completely differently. You realize that the person who uses the product isn't always the person who decided to buy it. You can see that an ad for a family vacation needs to speak to everyone, but an ad for a sugary breakfast cereal, it really just needs to convince the kids and the parent who does the grocery shopping. It basically decodes the entire process.
From the brand of soap in your shower to the car parked in your driveway, none of those choices were random. They were all the result of this complex dance between habits you learned as a kid, the roles you play, the shifting power dynamics, and your specific stage in life. The chaos, it has a system.
So think about it. The last big purchase your family made. Were you the instigator, the one who first brought up the idea? Were you the influencer, whose opinion carried the most weight? Maybe you were the decider, the purchaser, or just the consumer. Now that you know the rules of the game, you can finally see your own position on the board.